Disney Cruise Line, of course, it's known for being family friendly, but what if you're just adults? Can you Disney cruise as a Disney adult or even just as an adult? We're going to talk about that today on the Diz Unlimited's DCL show. Hello and welcome to the Diz Unlimited's DCL show. I'm Chris Vorbeck, one of the agents at Dreams Unlimited Travel. Thanks so much for being here. Disney Cruise Line has a well-deserved reputation for being family-friendly. But what if you're just adults, Disney adults or otherwise? We're going to talk about that today. And here with me, some of my favorite people, of course, Dreams Unlimited Travel agent Elaine Edwards. Hello, Elaine.
Hi, friends.
Dreams Unlimited Travel agent Mike Finucci. Hello, Mike.
Hello, everyone.
And Dreams Unlimited Travel agent Lacey Post. Hello, Lacey.
Hi, everybody.
And always here with us, our amazing producer, Jimmy Valdez. Hello, Jimmy.
Hello.
Glad to have all of you with us and glad you're with us. Thanks so much for being here. As I mentioned, we're going to talk about Disney adulting. Oh, and in our news segment, we're talking about some additional cabanas coming to Disney's Castaway Key and also the Hercules show coming to the Disney Destiny. So excited about that. But first, I want to remind you that this show, along with everything we do at the Diz Unlimited, DCL fan, UO fan, it's all brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel. We're experts at helping you plan a magical Disney cruise, a visit to a fantastic Disney theme park, your Universal adventure, epic universe, even other cruise lines. There's no additional cost to book with Dreams Unlimited Travel, none, not a penny. But we're going to give you insights into your Disney cruise ship, destinations, your Disney trip, a trip to Universal. This is what we do. So we'd love to help you out doing it. And by booking your cruise with Dreams Unlimited Travel, get a shipboard credit of up to $1,000, depending on the price of your cruise. And I always hear people say, okay, nothing's for free. This is free money in your account when you get on board, and you don't have to spend a dime. And it's not just Disney Cruise Line, it's other cruise lines too. You get the shipboard credit. How cool is that? Best way to get started, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. And I always like to note, by way of transparency, Elaine and Mike and Lacey and I, well, we are all Dreams Unlimited Travel agents. Yes, this is what we do for our job. In fact, and we love Disney Cruise Line and we love Disney. And sometimes the most critical people are actually the people who love it the most. So our goal here is for you to have an amazing time. And by you booking with us, it helps us do this. But we also get to help you have a magical trip. So, yes, I see people out there saying the honest review. We're not going to lie to you. In fact, sometimes we're going to be more critical than other folks. But we really want you to have an amazing trip. So, with that, let's touch on a couple of news items. And Mike, I'm going to go to you first because Disney has announced that there are going to be these new, they're calling them Mickey and Minnie Cove Cabanas at Disney's Castaway Key. And well, I guess they're available for booking. Well, I'm not exactly sure where these things are.
Yeah. So literally just announced that bookings are going to be opening for sailings beginning December 5th and later. So when your Castaway Club, where your port adventure booking window opens, they'll be available if your sailing is on December 5th or later and visiting Castaway Key. They're calling them the Mickey and Minnie Cove Cabanas. And when I was on a recent Disney Magic sailing, they are located between the Serenity Bay Barbecue and the Serenity Bay Bar that's on the end of Serenity Bay and the family cabanas, taking over the area that used to be the Cast Beach area. Didn't get a really great view because they had pretty high construction walls, and anytime I tried to get close to sneak a peek, there was a cast member shooing me away. So they're in active construction, but it looks like they'll be done and ready for guests on December 5th. And from the sounds of it, is just like the other cabanas that are available on the island already, with the outside patio area, hammock, sunshade, all that good stuff.
Yeah, and those cabanas are they're expensive, but if you haven't had a cabana before, they're really exceptional. You actually had a cabana when you were just on the Disney Magic, right? And you
Yes.
got a cabana, right? I mean, this is like, I always describe this as the DCL version of the Hunger Games, getting a cabana.
It is. Yeah, it really was. This is our first time doing a cabana. And we were celebrating my wedding anniversary. My husband is a cheapskate. And he would not mind me saying that. And it took some convincing because he is a diehard beach person and I am a diehard let me be on the beach but in the shade
Right.
kind of person. And it was probably the best part of our trip. And we don't know how we're going to go back to Castaway without a cabana again. It was just absolutely lovely. And by the end of it, he was like, that was worth every single penny.
Oh, that's lovely.
Just the general experience, and the cast members that help at the cabana area are phenomenal.
The other big piece of news that came out was we are getting our first look at some of the elements of the new Hercules stage show that will be on the Disney Destiny, which sets sail later on this year out of Fort Lauderdale. This is Elaine. Did you see any of these? It's the Titans and some, but we also got some peeks about some of the songs and stuff. I don't know. Are you excited for this? I'm hyper excited for this show, particularly after Moana was so awesome. Are you looking forward to this?
Sure. I will know that I have not seen the Hercules before.
Really?
So, yeah. So I don't know why. I just haven't. But the pictures are very, very similar. We've all mostly have seen what the pictures look like from the Moana show on the Treasure. Even if you haven't been on the Treasure, they have these like very, very, very larger than life puppets, and they are going to have that with this show as well. It says it is a giant multi-headed Hydra puppet. And so that is what they are doing for the epic showdown sequences. So if you are into that movie and you've seen that, then that means things to you.
Lacey, are you looking forward to seeing this show? Do you like? I'm a huge I'm in every show every single time. So do you like these?
Yes, we never miss a show, so I can't wait. And it's something different. It's very different. So we're looking
feels
forward to
really. And Hercules has some of my favorite songs. So I think it's so they have both the Titans, and they also will have, I guess, another one that's the the multi-headed where he keeps chopping off the head and another one comes. So apparently it's going to be. I'm really looking forward to this. So let's talk about Disney adulting because both Lacey, you did an adult trip too. You were celebrating a big anniversary. You were on the Disney Wish. Sometimes do people give you I find when I've gone on adult only trips, people push back and say, what, you're going on a Disney cruise just as adults? Do you get that?
We didn't get any of that.
Your friends are better than mine.
Yeah, I guess we've got a lot of Disney loving friends.
Yeah, there you
so
go.
They understood. And actually, when we were on the Disney Wish, the couple right across the hall from us were also celebrating their anniversary.
Awesome.
So I think there were a lot of couples on the boat.
So how is a Disney cruise different as Disney adults as opposed to having your kids with you?
Well, for us, it was very different. And even though they have the kids clubs and you can, take advantage of a lot of the adult only things when they're in the clubs, I feel like it was just more carefree and we're able to do a lot more of it. Just the two of us. Of course, ours are teenagers now, so it'd be a little easier going back with them now as well. But we hit the hot tub every day. We love hot tubs. So we were up in the infinity pool. We really enjoyed it. We did a lot of the trivia. We went to Hyperspace Lounge because my husband is a huge Star Wars fan, so he loved that. And I think families can come into Hyperspace Lounge up until a certain time of day, but we went at night, which was nice. No kids, and so it was just lovely. We had a great time. Pirate night. I remember when the kids were little, we were trying to get back because they would get sleepy. we closed it out. We danced to the end. So, it was fun.
So Elaine,
Yeah.
I know you've done both with kids and as adults. How's an adult trip different?
I can't even say that one is better than the other because they're both different and great in their own ways. And I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I know for my clientele, I have just as many adult only Disney Cruise Line bookings as I do, if not more, those of families sailing. And whether that is solo adults, couples, friends, families with their adult children, but just like adults, I'm pretty sure I even have more than families sailing.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else is like that, but I know that mine are because I think that Disney adults are Disney adults and they enjoy this, even if it's not about lining up for every picture with Mickey. It is the level of service that Disney Cruise Line brings. And you can find, I know that a lot of people will have maybe that one family member that's sailing with them that's, is like, I don't even want to see any kids on the ship. And, we can't promise that that's going to happen, but there are a lot of things that you can do to keep yourself in adult areas and that kind of thing. But both ways of sailing on a Disney Cruise Line are absolutely fantastic. I love doing both of them. So, yeah.
Mike, why do you Disney cruise? You don't have kids, so why do you
No.
Disney cruise as an adult as an adult only?
So Disney Cruise Line honestly has been the only cruise line I've ever experienced. And we've tried to break off to try other cruise lines. We always end up back at Disney because the level of experience, both from every cast member, from like maintenance all the way to, the cruise directors and the captain and interacting with any of them. I don't know that there's anywhere else that I would trust that level of service besides Disney. And they just have the right blend of things that are, for me, childlike that I know I wouldn't get somewhere else, like the trivia and some of the adult only game shows or the adult only like drawing courses, that sort of thing. And the level of entertainment on the ship is just stunning, from the Broadway style shows to, we spent a lot of time on our last sailing at the new Soul Cat Lounge on the Magic, listening to a fantastic 2-person duo that we spent basically we'd get out of the show, we'd head there, we'd listen to them perform until dinner. And then most of the time we were there afterwards until they were done performing at midnight. Whereas normally we would go to some of the adult only activities in some of the like the nightclub area and everything like that. This duo was so good. We were just like, we're just gonna sit here. We basically had our own booth area by the time the sailing was done. Like, they knew we were coming.
Soul Cat Lounge is such a when the Magic went into dry dock, the Disney Magic went into dry dock, they created this Soul Cat Lounge, and I was suspicious because everything needs to be associated with some Disney movie now, right? But I thought they did a lovely job, and it's not in your face, it's very subtle, and it's just lovely, and I love that spot anyway. So when people ask me why I do a Disney cruise as an adult, there are a couple reasons. Elaine mentioned service. I think it's also the cleanliness of these ships and the maintenance of these ships. You stop at ports and there are people washing and you don't see any rust. I look at the other cruise line ships and they're just not as well maintained. The Disney ships are also gorgeous. They are just lovely ships with their coloring, and they're just attractive, which I appreciate. It's something that matters to me. But the general reason why I choose a Disney cruise is because I like the people who cruise on Disney Cruise Line. You hear all sorts of cruise stories about people who, some teenager who says, "Hey, I'm going to jump off deck 10 and see if I can make." You don't hear about those situations on Disney ships. You just don't. People don't, I like a family atmosphere. I like the type of people who do Disney cruising, and it's just a lovely group of people who are looking to have a good time and looking to live in a certain element of where we all get to treat other people lovely and be happy. And worse things have happened. The world's a tough place these days, and so I get to be in that space for a period of time. It's awesome to me. So let's talk about some of the adult areas, because sometimes most people don't realize there are adult areas on all of the ships. One, I think, is the pools. There are pool areas, and I have legitimately seen somebody an adult sitting in the adult only pool area, who was ordering and pointed to the menu because she knew that her kids were back one and they were, being crazy and loud, and she was enjoying some peace and quiet. So the pool, the spa, Mike mentioned the nightclubs and those adult areas. You're pretty separated. You can be separated. Mike, at least I don't feel like, if you don't want to have kids around all the time, if you don't want kids around at all, don't do a Disney cruise. But if you don't, if you want a little bit of peace and quiet, there are places you can go, aren't there?
Yeah, there's tons of them. And especially with the classic ships, the Magic, Wonder, Dream, and Fantasy, they have dedicated areas that at a certain point, that whole part of the deck becomes adult only. So
Yeah.
and there are adult only venues on the Wish class ships, but they're not as separated as the other ones. So it's a lot easier on the classic ships to basically see very little children, if that's what you're looking for, because you can stick to the adult only venues, the adult only activities, the spa, the adult pool deck area. If you're going to go to the cabanas or one of the buffets, you're going to run into them, but you don't necessarily have to. And it's one of those things that you can really control that just by being a little proactive.
Yep.
Lacey,
did you get to spend much time? Did you go to the Rose at all on the Disney Wish, which is up? It's just outside of Enchanté and Palo Steakhouse on the Disney Wish, and it is a lovely place to have a cocktail. The views are spectacular. The space is, I think, exceptionally well done. Again, an adult only place. I don't know, Lacey, did you guys have a celebratory cocktail up in the Rose?
No, we missed out on that one. But we did have a celebratory drink in Hyperspace Lounge.
Awesome. Elaine, where do you like to go if you want a little away from kid time?
My favorite thing to do is to buy a length of cruise pass to the rainforest. And generally in the afternoon, you can find me taking a nap on one of their heated tile loungers, because it's just a very, very, very nice place to get away from everything and everybody and just let yourself soak and melt into that heat. And I fall asleep every single time. So.
Yeah. And sometimes you can hear Elaine when she's sleeping in those lounges. So
there's no video of me snoring on a tile lounger posted anywhere. Yeah. Just warning everyone watching now. Do not do it.
There is adult-only entertainment on board as well. So there is trivia. So a lot of the comedians, or some particularly on the longer, like if you're doing more than a 3-day cruise, there'll be like a comedian or a magician or something, and they'll be down in the adult area. I'm doing air quotes, adult area, and they'll have a later at night show that will be adult only. Mike, do you do any of the adult, the mixology or martini or whiskey or any of those kinds of things?
I have done one of the mixology seminars, and it was phenomenal. It was on the Wonder. Yeah. Sorry, I decided if I was in an English pub or an Irish pub.
Right.
And it was probably one of the most interesting seminars I've ever done. And I'm not a heavy. I don't do a lot of cocktails generally. Like I'm usually the one that's going for something non-alcoholic. But these were super interesting drinks. We made and it's gonna sound gross, but it was delightful. They showed us how to make a what they called a date night at the theater martini is what the person called it, and they had taken some of the popcorn at the end of the night from the shows, and they had made a popcorn infused liqueur with it on the ship itself. And so it was basically a Coke with a little rum and this popcorn flavored liqueur. So while you're drinking it, was like drinking a Coke. And at the back of your throat, you had the flavor of buttered popcorn.
Wow.
Oh my
Um, it was really, really good, really cool. And there's different things like that. And sometimes it's a simple cocktail like mixology, and sometimes you get something special like that. It's different every time because it really is going to depend on the bartender that's hosting it. And so those are absolutely worth their weight in gold. One of my friends that sails with us often, she always does one of the champagne tastings um, every time because she's one of those individuals that wants to learn more about champagne, but she doesn't want to take the risk of, buying full bottles and not knowing if she's going to like it. So doing a champagne tasting, she figures out what she likes, learns about it, and then at home she gets what she likes in her
That's
cabinet.
awesome.
So
They
yeah.
also have on the first night they have Prima Notte, which is the first night. It's held up on all the ships. They hold it up in Palos, and it is essentially a wine tasting, a tasting with wine and tastes of food. It's not a full dinner. It's a wonderful way. It's adult only, and there's additional charge for the alcohol things, but they're generally, particularly Prima Notte is not terribly expensive. And it's a fun way to start your trip. The other one, who's done Match Your Mate? Anybody done Match Your Mate and have good stories
God.
to tell?
I mean, I
Done.
haven't done it, but I've watched it. Guess we
Yeah.
should clarify
Yes.
that one.
Yeah.
So Match Your Mate is
Same.
essentially
I've
a little
watched
bit
it.
like the newlywed game. They choose a newlywed couple, a couple that's been married kind of medium, and then a couple that's been married for a long time. And half of the couple goes out to the other room. They ask questions, and then they come back and see if you match the answers. And it is one of the things that I don't miss on board. It's super fun. And usually, if you get the right people, and they're pretty good about finding the right people to participate, it's a super fun thing. One of the things that I have not done yet, but will do, is there are these Coriander and Sage, I believe are their names, and they have a more adult themed adventure on the Disney Treasure that has a Indiana Jones theme, but from what I understand, again, I haven't done it yet, but from what I've heard, it has more adult themes to it. So that's there are a lot of adult things that you can do. Elaine, it sounded like you want to say something.
Oh no. The only
Okay.
thing I would warn is that with Match Your Mate, it is very adult. I
Yes.
would not recommend bringing your children to it, especially when you're on the Wish class of ships. The lounge that it's in is open all the way around. It is very easy to be walking by with kids and hear what's going on, and that is the most adult thing that you will find on that ship. It gets a little risque in there, so.
I always call it Disney risque, so it's still within the boundaries, but it is definitely, I think, fairly risque. So and a little body, so it's kind of fun. Let's talk about Castaway Key for adults. Both Castaway and Serenity, Serenity Bay at Castaway Key. There's also an adult area at Disney Lookout Key at Lighthouse Point. A little different because Serenity Bay at Castaway Key is pretty much on the far part of the island, so can be a little trek to get out there. Elaine, do you go out there very often, or do you usually stay more at the family beach?
So the only time that I have done the family beach on either of the islands is when I had my kids with me. Any other time, I have always been sailing with other adults, and they default to Serenity Bay, so that's where we end up, which is not. I have zero problem with that. However, I will say that people talk about, comparing and contrasting as far as between the two islands, as far as Serenity Bay, that they are a bit different. Because the one on Lookout Key is just divided by some space and a lifeguard and some orange cones as far as from the family beach and the adult beach. But honestly, it is not that big a deal. They are enough apart that it's not going to make any difference. The Serenity Bay Beach, I honestly like it better on Lookout Key because you are not cutting your feet in the water, walking around the water. Because I will completely shred my feet in the water at Serenity Bay, Castaway Key, because of the rock, and your legs are
coral
wrapped in everything else. So.
Lacey, did you make it over to Serenity Bay on this on your anniversary trip?
We did, and we loved it. We just floated in the water and burned, and
Yeah, I know.
It was really nice. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. We did the 5K too. So we did kind of half the 5K over to Serenity Bay and then had lunch and stayed in the water a long time and then did the second half of the 5K back.
Mike, I know you got a cabana. Was your cabana on Serenity? They have cabanas at Serenity Bay. They also have them at the family beach. Was yours, where was your cabana?
We were on Serenity Bay, cabana number 24.
Awesome, lovely.
Was the specific one we were at, and it was lovely. I've done sailings where I stayed on the family beach. That was when we've done like snorkeling, and we've done the stingray. Sorry, I could not think of the word stingray experience. Both of those, because of where they were and the timing, we just stayed on the family beach that time. But the cabana on Serenity Bay was phenomenal. We weren't, granted, we were on the Magic, so it wasn't a huge deal, like trying to find seats. But I've been on other sailings where trying to find something on Serenity Bay is kind of hard. So the cabana was lovely to have a dedicated space. And there was a couple cloud bursts where it started raining, and we just went inside and chilled in the cabana. So
the one thing that I've done, this is at over at Disney Lookout Key at Lighthouse Point, but the as Elaine mentioned, even the cabanas on Lookout Key are really share the family beach. It's part of the family beach. They could have put the adult cabanas, which are essentially the ones that you see from the ship, where it's basically a private beach there. I'm still not quite sure why they didn't do that, and I keep asking Disney people and haven't heard anything. If somebody has an answer for it, let me know, and I'd happy to share it out. I'm sure there's a reason, but so there are two sets of cabanas over there. And
yeah, I was going to say with that, the family cabanas being right at the end of the pier on Lookout Key, you get the great view of the ship, but there's very little food near there. Like they have some food available from what I've seen. But it has
its own kitchen over there. So they have a specific kitchen over there.
It's not the full barbecue experience that you get over at True or the Serenity Bay barbecue or True. It's not the same amount or selection there. So I know I've had one of my clients that have gotten a family cabana there, and they've taken the tram over to eat and come back because there wasn't quite what they wanted.
Yeah, I was over there. It's frankly the Palo team that comes over to staff that. So you get the nice service over there. They have steak over there that they don't have on the other part of the island, and they also have a couple of desserts that are phenomenal over on that part of the island. So I didn't have a problem with it at all. I thought it was awesome. I still took the tram over to get to the other side, and I probably would have done the adults on that side and then put all the family ones over on the other side. But I'm sure there's a reason why they did it. Let's talk a little bit about in terms of excursions, because particularly if you're going outside of, there are adult only excursions everywhere. If you want to do that, that's particularly true in places like Europe and Alaska and Norway and those kinds of places that are if you want to not have kids on your trip, you can do that. Excursions, Elaine, do you offer folks advice for adult only? How do they think differently about excursions if they're doing things?
I honestly find that a lot of my clients that are traveling with adult only groups will choose the adult only excursions. That kind of seems to be. And when you are on Disney Cruise Line, I mean, you can do this. We hated to say it, but Disney Cruise Line kind of gatekeeps a lot of things when it comes to excursions and cruise activities, because you can't actually see what they're offering or what's available until your booking window opens up. However, you can see what is commonly offered for each port on their website, and you can sort it by port, and you can actually sort it by where it will only show you adults only, if that is what you are wanting to do. Especially like, and a lot of them, they will have the same excursion, but they will offer it, for everybody and then for adults only. And so it's a doubled excursion, and you can choose, I want the adult only version. Like we were talking about with Alaska, they do that a lot with the train in Skagway, that you can do adult only version of that, which basically means your specific car only has adults in it. There's still going to be kids on the train. It's just your specific car is adults only, which doesn't really make that much a difference. But a lot of people will choose to do that.
Lacey, as people are planning, as adults only are planning their cruise, do you think about different times of cruising? Are you thinking about, is there a right ship? How do you maneuver all those things?
Well, I like to first pick my destination, even more so than the ship. So I would say first look at where you want to go, and then see what ships are available going to those locations. So that would be my number one suggestion. And then I guess, if you went during the school year, you should have less kids. So if you're looking, I would think
Mike,
that seems like that'd be true.
Yeah, no, I can tell you, we did Norway. It was early September, and it was really interesting because you had very small kids, less than 5, kind of preschool age. And then you had a lot of recent college grads who were traveling with their parents and seeing Norway. But that center section, I think there were 8 of that, kind of 5 to 14, maybe 15, early through high school. That was the big missing. It was like Invasion of the Body Snatchers kind of thing. It was really interesting. That's early September. So certainly if you plan your cruise when kids are in school, there's going to be fewer of them. Guess what? Mm-hmm. What other planning things should adults only think about, Mike?
When it comes to excursions specifically, there are some that are offered that you can tell it's not necessarily going to appeal to a lot of families or ones with children. Like, thinking about some of the excursions they offer at Lookout Key, there's some of the eco tours and history tours that it's open to all ages, but they're not really booking it unless it's an adult only type of situation. So you can also filter out ones that are not necessarily limited to adults only, but it's not going to necessarily appeal to a lot of families. So there are some that it's still there, and you may get a kiddo or two on it. But so I recommend clients look for that. And I think when it comes to just planning, I would echo what Lacey said: destination first, and then for example, my experience on my Alaska sailing a couple years ago, there weren't a lot of kids on it, even though it was in July, compared to some of the sailings that I've done in July, to the Bahamas.
Right.
Just because there are certain itineraries that are going to appeal more to families than others, unless you're a particularly outdoorsy family for Alaska, or you're looking to sail somewhere specific, and can't necessarily avoid the time off for when kids are in school.
Elaine, I'm going to open the can of worms around ships because, as you well know, the Wish class has the adult area, particularly, well, as you mentioned, that one of the areas where they hold Match Your Mate is kind of open. The bars are kind of intermingled around, but the adult pool area back in the very back of the Wish class ships it's there's only one hot tub, and that's the only hot tub on the ship. And if you're trying to find a quiet space, you have Minnie Mouse, who is kind of saying her thing as the Aqua Mouse runs over your head. So I think the Wish class ships are not as great if you're for adults. Do you agree with me or disagree?
Yes, and I have said that many times, is that I do believe, especially the Wish itself, is truly built for families with kids under the age of 10. I really think that's what it's built for. That said, I love it. I have only sailed on the Wish with older adults, and I loved it every single time. I had an amazing time every single time. We tried the adult pool area. It was not great, and so we actually spent more of our time in the Chippendale pool because it was shaded and there was nobody there, rather than the adult fish tank pool, where it's very weird pool and it's very overcrowded. So we did not spend any time there. But I do believe, and if you are wanting that quote unquote nightlife kind of thing, I do think that the Magic and the Wonder are going to be the most suited for that, because they do have those districts that kind of lean a lot more towards that. Now, that said, you are not going to be, clubbing it at 2 a.m. It just doesn't happen on Disney Cruise Line, no matter what ship that you are on. Pretty much by 10:30, 11 o'clock, all nightlife is shut down. There's just really isn't a lot going on our recent sailing on the Magic. That was a content cruise with several of us that we've talked about several times. There was some of us that every night we tried to go down to the adult district and see the activities and see what was going on. And there were people there, but there was not a lot of people there. There was a lot of people going on. But I will tell you that our producer, Jimmy Valdez, he is a silent disco king. He like no other. So
we're all going to have to watch this on YouTube to see if somebody got video of that. So
we can put a video in of that, because I know that it exists. Whether he
it's hard when he controls whether the video shows up or not. So. We still have social media, so we'll see how nice. We'll see how big the check that comes from Jimmy is. There are. I would also say there are adult trivia. There's adult karaoke. There are a bunch of things, and always the spa is adult only. The other thing, which I think you mentioned it, Elaine, is particularly on the Wish class ships, have this rainforest room that is amazing. And during the day, they open this front area of the ship that they have to close it at night because the lights shine up on the bridge and they can't see. And you don't want the captain not being able to see. But during the day, it's this outside area and it's adult only, and it's lovely. It's really, really lovely. So there are places where you can go and have a fantastic time. One thing that I always tell folks is, if you're doing adult only, and particularly if you're planning to do the adult dining, they've loosened the restrictions, but particularly the high-end one, either Remy or Enchanté, they do have dress codes, and so be sure to read up on what the dress code is. Mostly it's a coat. You don't really need ties anymore. It's not open-toed shoes, so you need real life shoes, things like that. Just be very aware of those things as you're packing. Mike, what else? Anything else we didn't talk about that we should have?
Two things that I've been recommending to people, that one of them's adult only, one of them's not, but it's not really usually well attended because people don't necessarily understand what they are. But the Art of the Theme Show tour happens on all
Yeah.
the ships. It's an adult only Imagineering view of the ships and how they built them, why they selected different things, why I learned that the Wonder has 372 different carpets.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known that otherwise. And so there's little things like that that you can do. On our this last sailing, we discovered the Broadway visiting actor seminars
Yeah. Those are awesome.
that happened. Had no idea those happened. Caught one this time, and so that it was all adults, even though it's open to everyone. But the performer that we had, she basically sung through Disney songs that represented all of the periods of her life.
Mm.
And she was on board playing Mother Gothel in the Tangled musical, and she was frightening. She was joking in her she was joking in her one woman show that she's in her villain era, so most of the songs were villain songs. And there was a couple really teary ones she sang. She talked about, when her grandma had passed away, that Mary Poppins Returns had got her through that, and then she sang one of the songs from Mary Poppins. There wasn't a dry
Lovely.
eye in the entire crowd. So there's little things like that that you can find that are available. Like I said, that aren't going to appeal to unless they're older kids,
Right.
that sort of thing.
I will note on the Wish class ships, and they call that art of the show. They call it something different on all the classes of ships.
Yeah.
So it'll be listed in your Disney Cruise Line Navigator app. On the Wish class ships, you have to sign up. I don't think it is at your. I think it's when you get on board. It's not at your activities window time. It's when you get on board and look for them, and you need to sign up. So make sure that and highly, highly, highly recommend. Lacey, anything else we need to touch on that we didn't?
So we're not late eaters, but we selected the 8:15 dining time this time since it was just the two of us, and we thought we'd be with more adults. But actually, our head waiter told us that on our cruise, the 8:15 time was more popular, which is odd to me. Now, that's not been my experience as a travel agent, but there were a lot of kids in that 8:15 seating as well.
Lacey, I'm so glad you brought up dining, because this is one of the areas that a lot of people, and she's exactly right. The 8:15 dining time tends to be a little calmer, fewer kids, and I found that even increasingly to be so now that Disney has brought back what they call play and dine and play. And so at about midway through dinner, the folks from the kids clubs come and they kind of Pied Piper the kids. Any kid who wants to go off and go to the kids club, they will take them off. And then the noise gets even quieter on board. It's lovely. And also kids aren't being bored and sitting, and so you can enjoy the rest of your meal. I'm so glad they brought it back. That being said, and we're going to do a show specifically on dining times, because we get a lot of parents who get really, really concerned about that 8:15 dining time. You can make it work, but it tends to be the more adult time, I think. Great point. Elaine, what else anything else we missed?
I think we did a lot. I mean, we didn't specifically say, but there are two, we mentioned them in passing. There are two adult restaurants on 4 of the ships. Well, the thing is, everybody's
all but
from
the
me.
first ones.
On Magic and Wonder, there is 1 adult restaurant, and on everything else, there's 2. And no kids. It is a premium charge. We've talked about it several times. Palo can be found on every ship, and then Enchante is on the Wish class of ships, and then Remy's is on the Fantasy and the Dream, and so it's a premium experience. You can add on extra, wine pairings with everything. So if you are a foodie and you are into that, then you are into your dinner that may last 2 or 3 hours, that is something that you can do as well.
Or on sea days, brunch, Palo brunch, yum, my favorite. So definitely enjoy. Thank you guys. Great information. With all that, we're going to wrap up here. We always say we'd love for you to book with Dreams Unlimited Travel. Easy for me to say. Dreams Unlimited Travel. Got to get the name of the company right. Literally, it helps pay for what we're doing here. And I'll tell you, Mike was my agent before I started doing this. I know the value. He was invaluable in helping me navigate my trips. Always appreciated that. The best place to start, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. You'll select Disney Cruise. On the first page, it will ask you your itinerary and then your cruise date. If you're looking at a couple of dates, you can put those in the special notes and we can work with you on that. The second page at the very top, there's a pull-down menu. It will have all the Dreams agents. You can select one, select Elaine, select Mike, select Lacey, or you don't have to. All the Dreams agents are super awesome. You'll be, I think, really thrilled. And then we're off to the races. We can get a plan your magical Disney trip. Elaine, other than booking, how do people reach you?
My email is Elaine, ELAINE, at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com.
Mike, how do people reach you?
You can reach me at Mike at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com, MIKE.
And I love you have my favorite social media handle, so mention that too.
Oh, so sorry, I forgot. You can also find me on Instagram. My other car is a monorail.
I love it. Lacey, how can people get in touch with you?
My email address is Lacey, LACI, at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com.
And if you want to reach me, I'm Chris V at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Yes, there is a Chris, so it's Chris V for Vorabek. If you want to reach me, I'm also on social media, Yensid Travel. Yensid is the sorcerer and sorcerer's apprentice, and it's Disney spelled backwards. So there you go. I'm on most social media platforms. And by the way, we've added a new way for you to reach out to us. You can leave us a message. We have a message line, dclshow.com/message. And just record a message. And we got our first one. So if you have show ideas or anything you want to share, please, you can do that. It's a lot easier. You just pick up your phone and leave a message. It's nice and easy. Thank you, guys. Elaine, Mike, Lacey, thank you so much for being here. Jimmy, thank you as always. We can't wait to see your dancing. And thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Depending on where you're watching or hearing or listening or whatever you're doing, please like, subscribe, leave us a review. There are these weird little things called algorithms, and all of that helps the algorithms work. And I don't fully understand it, but they tell me it's true. So if you can do that, if you have topics, ideas, you can leave those in the YouTube comments, or we have a DCL fan Facebook page where there are a whole bunch of people discussing Disney Cruise Line, or you can just send me an email, chrisv at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. With that, thanks very much for being here. Safe travels, and we'll see you real soon. So long.